Hello and a warm welcome to Federal's special program, Capital Beat. Former Congress President Rahul Gandhi was disqualified from Lok Sabha just a day after he was convicted by Surat Sessions Court in a 2019 criminal defamation case over his alleged Modi surname remark in a Karnataka rally. Now, what has happened? In a late last evening meeting, Congress has now decided to go to the people and go on a Save Democracy campaign. But legally speaking, the party is still gearing up to challenge Rahul's conviction in the higher court. Now, how does Rahul's disqualification impact him and the grand old party? Will this be seen as some kind of a turning point before 2024 elections? I'm joined by senior third-term MP, eminent jurist, and chairman of the Parliamentary Standing Committee, Abhishekh Manu Singhvi. Pleasure having you, sir, on the program. Sir, my first question, Mr. Singhvi, to you is that it's more than 24 hours now. In fact, it's almost more than 2 days. And why is the party still hasn't still appealed in the higher court?
No, appeal takes time to file. It's as simple as that. It's a 170-page judgment in Gujarati. People are studying it, making an appeal, and they'll be filed shortly. And within next week, this happened on Thursday. Is it too late to expect that the matter will be taken up next week? But this can't be breakneck speed. That is the other nuance point I made yesterday, which people of your tribe, some of whom don't deserve to be called journalists, and some of people of our tribe, some of whom don't deserve to be called lawyers, completely distorted and misunderstood. The point is not that the EC is not entitled to give the disqualification. Of course it is. Because there is no stay of conviction, they can. The point being made was that is it fair governance, good governance, decency, reasonableness, that you have a judgment on Thursday. If you give the aggrieved party 4 or 5 days to file an appeal and take out this notification after a week, how does it matter? The law doesn't say that 1 day after this, you must immediately issue a notification. So we were talking of good governance. But people of your tribe and my tribe, of course, gone to town saying that we don't know the law and that they can do it instantly. The fact that you have the power to impose disqualification does not carry with it the compulsion to do it within 24 hours or 48 hours.
So, Mr. Singhvi, no, Mr. Singhvi, my question is that wasn't party expecting this? Is this disqualification seen as something which has come like a bolt from the blue?
No. Of course we were expecting it. Of course we were expecting it. Even without the disqualification, how could an appeal be heard, listed, argued before 4 or 5 days? See, you leave aside the disqualification. Thursday evening the judgment comes, afternoon judgment comes. If you have a listing and an arguments next week, can you do any appeal before that? Can you just throw the papers at a judge and just get him and start arguing? It's a conviction appeal. It's not an appeal against some interim order. It's the main conviction which is sought to be stayed.
Right.
So the point of the matter is that
yes, go ahead.
This qualification has come within 48 hours of the judgment. Is inconsequential. Even the main judgment can't be appealed quicker than this.
Right. But Mr. Singhvi, the alacrity and the rapidity with which, the entire system has functioned in the last 48 hours, first comes the judgment, then comes the disqualification. There were also, I'm not confirming the reports, but there were reports, scanty reports of how Prime Minister allegedly met the speaker. How would you really say this? What would you really say to the speed at which the government has, taken all these decisions, or rather not the government, the system? The system has, forced this disqualification.
Yes, we said again and again yesterday. See, I'm not here to comment on when the Prime Minister meets the Speaker and whether he can. Or certainly, there are constitutional functionaries, they meet all the time. So I will not go by speculation. I will not go by hypotheses. But it is no doubt that if a person is convicted on Thursday, there have been cases where for days on end, no action has been taken to disqualify him formally.
Right.
And easily he could have allowed that, look, he's trying his appellate rights, he's trying his stay rights. Give him 5 or 6 days. That's all I'm here saying. But that's one part of it. There's so many other issues of legal, of law, and of politics here. so many other issues of political aspect.
But Mr. Singhvi, of course, you have been saying over the last 24 hours that, the whole foundation is based on this whole bit that how he has got convicted. And if the party can manage to take a stay on the conviction, then are you hopeful that he will return to Parliament with the same speed with which he has been disqualified and he has been ousted?
No, the entire basis, I repeat, entire basis of disqualification, the foundation of disqualification is a supposed conviction. If the conviction is stayed, if your foundation is stayed, how does your Imarat stand? Right. How does your building stand? So there's no question about it. It's a different matter that you, the election commission, or you, the government, some of the other delays the denotification of the disco. That's a different issue. That's a matter of practice. But otherwise, logically, sensibly, commonsensically, it's automatic. But let me come to the so many more legal infirmities. This is one of those rare judgments which never happens, that in a criminal defamation, the maximum punishment is imposed on a first-time offender. The maximum is 2 years. 1 year, 11 months, 29 days, perhaps would not be sufficient because no disqualification occurs. So the maximum punishment is imposed after all. Rahul Gandhi, if at all, I'm not saying he's guilty, if at all is an alleged first-time offender. You never do it. In criminal defamations, any criminal lawyer will tell you, either, of course, convictions are very rare, but assuming there are convictions, they are 1 month, maximum 3 months, very, very, very extreme cases, 6 months. I've never heard of a 2-year conviction.
Mr. Singhvi, if you've seen the judgment, and I'm sure you would have, this Chief Judicial Magistrate H.H. Verma in that verdict has written that, when someone addresses as an MP, then obviously it does have a substantial impact. And the gravity of the crime is greater, and therefore giving a reduced sentence will send a wrong message. That is part of the judgment. Now, what would you really say to this bit?
2 or 3 things. The point number 1, the judge has to take into account holistic circumstances. The first of those holistic circumstances, intent. Can you glean the intent in a speech of 3-4 pages about unemployment, price rise, misgovernance, scams, China? If you have this one sentence, can the intent, the basic purpose of the speech be to defame you, Nilu? Clearly, the speech is about general issues which I've told you about, not to defame Nilu. And therefore, the intent, which is a crucial ingredient, is missing. Point number 2, and this all should have been done by the magistrate, instead of saying what he just now, you quoted him saying. 2, right. This is a Kolar, Karnataka incident. Purely politically, 1 person in Patna files, 1 person in Ranchi files, and 1 person in Surat files. That is precisely why the law was amended by Parliament many moons ago to make a mandatory provision called 202 that the magistrate must do an exercise at the threshold, whether the matter should go on or not. He has noted the contention, not done it. Number 4, the sentence is very interesting. As you know, in criminal defamation, only the agreed party can file a complaint. Right. Now, who were named in that sentence? A, B, and C. 3 people were named in that sentence. None of the 3 have filed. Yeah. They have not filed. Not one of them has filed. So it became necessary in this mischievous approach for the complainants who have filed to say that we know that the 3 named persons have not filed. But we are filing because we believe this sentence is a defamation of the entire community. Right. Now, I'll tell you why that is a very bizarre thing there. Rahul Gandhi at the worst said, I am surprised that all these persons who are thieves, and he names ABC, have the same surname. That's the sentence. Just pick up the sentence and see it. He doesn't say the reverse. All people with this surname are thieves. I hope you understand the distinction.
Yes, absolutely.
It is surprising that now, in the reverse, if he has not said so, then the community allegation falls to the ground. But it is important for the community allegation to be made because otherwise the complaint is not maintainable.
Right.
Because none of those three have filed a complaint.
So, Mr. Singhvi,
Then again,
this of course would be the basic premise of the appeal which you will file in the higher court. But on the contrary, if you look at BJP and the way all the senior leaders have started saying that, look, Rahul Gandhi has heard the OBC community sentiments, and that is the narrative which they are going to build now. Now, is Congress really prepared to counter this kind of a narrative?
Of course we are. Just by repeating a lie 100 times or distorting things, people are not fools. The statement is before you. Pick up the statement and read it. Where is the question of a community even coming in? Now, if you think that the people of India are illiterate, just you distort a statement and make a make-believe statement and they are going to be completely believing, then you've got a guess coming. The people are far more intelligent. And we will be fighting, I said, a political battle separately. The political battle is about these rallies, these meetings, these demonstrations, these objections. What do they show? This is not one. There is a pattern. File cases to create intimidation. File cases to overawe, to generate fear, to circumscribe. Throttle and gag voices. The man goes abroad, gives a speech. They say that unless you apologize, you can't come back and speak in parliament.
Right.
The person gives a fiery speech on 7th, and it is said that I will expunge 1/4 of the speech, or I will send it to the privileges committee. The person speaks outside or inside, and they say unprecedentedly, we are the government, but we will disrupt the house. Unless what? Unless you apologize. Can your free speech in parliament be condition precedented on apology? Can I say that before Vyas apologizes, she can't speak in parliament? So therefore, you have to understand these things. This is part of a pattern. And I want to highlight what I highlighted yesterday. Look at, when you do things in a andhadhun, fast manner, then you make mistakes. Right. You're bound to make mistakes. 2019 April, a complaint is filed. It is languishing, there's no hurry. 2021 June, Rahul Gandhi goes to the Surat court. He comes back after visiting the Surat court, attending the court. And after that, this man, the complainant, suddenly jumps and goes to the High Court, the complainant, mind you, and says, please stay, Mr. High Court, my own complaint in the trial court for some technical reason. The High Court gives the stay on when? 7th of March 22, 1 year ago. From 1 year, just under 1 year, it is languishing, lying, nobody's noticing. Nothing happens. There's no hurry. On 7th February of this year, 2023, 1 year later, he gives a speech in Parliament. 9 days later, this complainant hotfoots it to the High Court and says, oh, sir, please vacate the stay which I got against my own complaint. Please allow my complaint to go on. On 16th February, he says this. This is 23, and you're not 22. On 23rd February, 23rd, this is all 23. On 23rd March, on 27th February, the trial resumes. This learned judge has heard it virtually only from 27th of February. And on 23rd of March, the judgment. Effectively, it's only this last month and a half. Where will be the 202 inquiry? Right. Where will you have time to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. So this timeline is quite significant, what you have pointed out, Mr. Singhvi. So let me ask you a very blunt question and in very straight words that, do you then suspect that Rahul Gandhi is a victim of some kind of a very serious political conspiracy which has been hatched by BJP?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. You read this statement out of context. You read it the way you want to read it. And on that statement, you say, Ms. Neelu Vyas, you go to Patna, Mr. Singhvi, you go to Surat, and third person goes to Ranchi and file complaints. And then you do this cock and bull story that you will justify the complaint on the basis that Mr. Rahul Gandhi was saying the whole community is a thief.
Right.
Then you languish, you sleep. It doesn't suit you. The moment is not right. The time is not auspicious. 100 considerations. Suddenly you wake up and say, let's have it right now. In 1 month, the whole thing is over. And then you have the maximum punishment.
Right.
I mean, I think it reeks of unbelievable events.
Right. But it does seem to have some kind of a chilling effect, because we do see the opposition parties now uniting, even the parties which weren't in support of Congress, like Trinamool Congress and Aam Aadmi Party, they have rallied behind Rahul.
See,
So do you see this as some kind of a turning point just before the general elections?
Nilu, it is not that Rahul Gandhi made the statement or stood up and said, look, I am hoping to be convicted on 23rd because on that day, because of my conviction, we'll generate opposition unity. That's not the way you must cast the equation. But, and we said so publicly at my press conference yesterday, we are, of course, very thankful that people are converging, that people are understanding that unity is the need of the hour. Mr. Modi does not get more than 39% vote at his best performance ever. 61% of the people are fragmented. If you stop that fragmentation and get consolidation of 80 to 90% of that 61, then either Mr. Modi loses or is in trouble, serious trouble. Now, I think the other petition which I was able to do just yesterday of 14 political parties is in fact a remarkable legal coalition which should act ultimately as a precursor for a better and more comprehensive political coalition.
Right.
After all, people realize now that old saying, first they came for the Jews, I looked the other way. Then they came for the Christians, you know that old saying, and I looked the other way. Then third is when they came for my neighbors, I went out and ignored it. When they came for me, there was nobody to look after me or to speak up for me. So I think for whatever reason, and obviously you will have your local differences with me. I will have my regional differences with you. You will have your own ego. That's part of the public life. I mean, I have no doubt that there are very serious ego differences between them. But that has to be at least temporarily kept in abeyance for having that larger, because you are now talking only of one election, Lok Sabha.
Absolutely.
You're not talking of a municipal elections. You're not talking of a state elections. So that's the need of the hour.
Right. But Mr. Singhvi, to ask you very honestly, of course, nobody's feeling good about the fact that Rahul Gandhi has been disqualified from Lok Sabha, except that, BJP says that, this was something which was seen coming as far as Rahul Gandhi is concerned. But my point is that do you really see this as a setback for Rahul and for the party?
I mean, these are subjective words, but setback, as far as Rahul Gandhi is concerned, nature is such, his approach is such, he's least bothered about issues like coercive steps, incarceration, harassment. In fact, sometimes you have to restrain him because he says, if I believe in this, I don't mind what are the consequences. So in that sense, answer to the question is absolutely no. If you think it's a setback in a sense that it has generated a degree of opposition unity, it can't be called a setback, that also. If it has exposed the BJP as ham-handed and wrong, that can't be a setback. Yes, it is a setback in that there's harassment, there's a waste of our time. We could be doing so many better things.
Right.
We could be attending and speaking in parliament. In that sense, yes. But not on that, if at all, it might be a very big blessing in disguise to expose the misdeeds.
Yes. But one thing I want to ask you is that since the time the disqualification has happened, or rather the conviction has come from the court, a lot of people are writing on the social media that it seems that Congress is beset with some kind of an inertia. It should have acted with alacrity as far as the appeal in the higher court is concerned. Coming back to my initial question again, which I asked you at the beginning, that when it comes to Pawan Khera, you saw the alacrity with which the lawyers came to the court.
I'm sorry, Neelu, this betrays a complete ignorance of the law, of the legal system. I know which sections of the media are saying, but just 3 or 4 points. Is it not bizarre to suggest, as has been suggested by the BJP, that this was done deliberately to keep Rahul Gandhi disqualified? Do you think such a perverse answer has to be dignified by a response? Certainly not from me. Number two, Pawan Khera was arrested at the airport. It's an arrest, a physical arrest. by Assam police coming there. It is by no means certain that the Supreme Court could have taken it up. But there was some issue of free speech involved. And the Supreme Court was in session. I myself was arguing and the matter came up. Now, the BJP, with their great legal brains and the remarkable journalists of your ilk, whom sometimes I think you would be embarrassed to call journalists, who support them, would have you believe that in a magistrate's order, Mr. Singhvi should be advising them to leapfrog to the Supreme Court. Why? So the Supreme Court sends you right back saying, look, there's a Sessions Court and a High Court. Did you forget? I don't think such kind of meddlesome interloper answers would be dignified. And we are not looking for unsolicited advice. Allow us to make our own blunders and our own mistakes. At least there'll be bona fide blunders and mistakes. Don't rush in where you're not required. And therefore, I tell those, I know the people you're talking about. I know the comments heard yesterday. I would tell them to go and smell the coffee or read up the law a little bit or become responsible journalists.
Mr. Singhvi, 2-3 quick points. I know you have to rush for other things. One legal clarity I needed. A lot of people like Manish Tiwari, Shashi Tharoor yesterday pointed out when disqualification came, and they said that some kind of a consultative process should have been done before disqualifying. Say, for example, reaching out to the president, reaching out to the election commission.
See, there are nuances here, and I said so myself. And it's a little technical, but you asked a question, so allow me a minute to explain.
Right.
One view is that this is a court-ordered conviction, it's automatic. Because there is nothing left after a court except an appeal court staying it.
Right.
The Election Commission has taken this view, and it is practicing this view for the last 7 years. And it's acted on that basis. The other view is that Article 103 of the Constitution uses text, which says that for any disqualification of any sitting legislator, the president must give the order, and before the order, he or she must get a recommendation of the EC. But that text has been stated by the EC in a Supreme Court judgment that it doesn't apply to a case of a court-ordered conviction where it's automatic. Right. Now, these are two diverse views. I'm not saying which is right. Certainly, if the second view is right, then the EC what did was wrong. But we can't lose sight of the fact that the EC has been acting like this for 7 years. They have acted on the basis of automatic disqualification. Now, somebody can challenge that. That challenge will take time. Suppose the government turns around and says, okay, your grievance is that the president didn't do it and that the recommendation of EC is not there. Okay, we'll take an extra week. We'll tell the president to pass an order. In between, we'll get the EC. So what do you gain? It's shadow boxing.
Right.
The only true issue here, how soon do we get a stay of conviction? That's the only issue.
Right. And how soon will that happen, sir? Or, I mean, when do we see the party appealing?
Next week. I'm expecting it next week. No, I'm not talking about appealing. I'm saying much ahead of that. There should be, we should at least try for an order next week. What happens, I can't say.
Right. But so, I mean, the biggest fear, what if he doesn't get, I know that that's a hypothetical question. And
there is a High Court. There's a High Court after that.
Okay.
And there's a Supreme Court after that.
Right.
There's a judicial established hierarchy. There's a system. Right. There is a self-correcting inbuilt system. You have to go through it.
But so the legal battle looks like a long haul battle, and you're prepared for that long battle. But then we have important elections coming up in states. Then you have a 2024. And if this conviction stays, then obviously Rahul Gandhi will not contest elections.
Not at all. I am very confident that we'll have a stay of conviction in the near future. I am no reason to be pessimistic. It's a very strong case, but it takes some time at least. Not as much time as people would like it to take in terms of the 24 elections, but still, yes, some time.
Right. One last question, Mr. Singhvi, that, there are a lot of people who are raising doubts about the fact that can Congress really leverage this moment politically? Can you reach out to the people on the scale of what generally BJP does, even with fake campaigns? say, for example, according to the definitions and the clarifications which you have given during this interview, that the case doesn't really have a clean foundation. Now, BJP already has started telling the people that, look, the OBC community is hurt and their sentiments are hurt. So now, do we see Congress mounting up a similar campaign on a similar scale, I'm saying?
Obviously, yes. This is not discussed today. Already 2 days ago, as you know, there were 2 long meetings, both of which I attended. Then there were another 2 meetings yesterday. All of them have laid out the plan. You reported it in the press.
Right.
There will be at every level. See, there are 2 issues. One is level and reach. The second is consistency. Third is continuity.
Right.
This is not a program in the drawing rooms of Delhi. It is not a program in the press rooms of Delhi. It's going to be a block level, tehsil level, and state level program. Instructions have gone out. One day with this judgment, you had a meeting yesterday of all CLPs and all PCCs.
Right.
Partly by Zoom. You can't do more in one day.
Absolutely.
Today, Rahul Gandhi press conference. So my point is that this will be done at every level. But more importantly, we have to ensure this is done consistently and continuously, not just a one swallow in the summer, which has a random.
You used a very interesting term in this interview, and that was a legal coalition. And I'm very tempted to ask you that, will we see some kind of a legal offensive also? Like Renuka Chaudhary said that she's going to file a defamation case against Prime Minister Narendra Modi for what he said inside Rajya Sabha. About the Ramayan serial and the Hasi and all that. I'm not going into those details. But since BJP does adopt these legal tactics, are we going to see a litany of criminal defamations being filed from Congress's end as well?
I will confess that we are not half as well versed in tactics as the BJP. We might even be students in the university run by them where tactics are concerned. But let me tell you, the advantages are many of batting with a straight bat. We are not going to file a frivolous complaint just because Rahul Gandhi stands convicted. But certainly, we are going to meet them at every level. That's the first and the major point, from tehsil to block up to state and then in the center. And secondly, we are going to expose them. Right. And we're going to tell them these are diversionary tactics to throttle and gag the voice, strangulate the voice of Rahul Gandhi. Right. And I think all the kind of camouflaging which you are trying to do, Mr. BJP, will not work for that.
Thank you, Mr. Singhvi, and wish you all the best for your efforts. And one appeal to the viewers who are watching this interview, subscribe to our channel, send us your feedback as to what you thought about what Mr. Singhvi said. Stay tuned. Thank you, sir.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more news and updates.